Yep, a random no topic hangout. Just felt like it. There's been a big drop off in any kind of interesting live hangouts to look at. So, I mean, half the time there's stuff like this list I'm going to show here just of what's going on in YouTube right now, which isn't a whole lot to look at. Get the right window up here. You can see there's just not a whole lot going on. Let's see if I can, well, that's not making it bigger. That's a little bit bigger. This is what you see every day. Like in the flat earth has been the hottest topic the past year or so. And there's a 24/7 channel, which to me is like reruns on cable TV. That's all they do is play other content. Some of this from their own channel, but just playing pre-recorded content over and over and over again. Pretty much cable TV. I don't think that's what people go to live hangouts for. I don't think it's spreading a message, but you know, whatever. People can do that. They supposedly have 100 people watching. I don't know about those numbers. Sometimes they just seem a little odd, but you know, yes, that's an even number, but anyway. Then we got another one is another 24/7, and we got one that runs occasionally that keeps 30 to 40 people there when there's never a different topic. It's always just, hey, whatever I feel like talking about, and people hang around and watch that. But I do usually topical things, usually Bible things. Sometimes I do astronomy things. And I'm lucky if I get into 2 digits. So it's, you know, I don't know what makes people go to a channel, especially if the channel really isn't putting out any new information or just rambling or whatever it is, rebroadcasting, running just to run. I don't know. It's just a weird thing that, you know, some of them like this NASA live feed, 443 people watching that. And I know there's a lot of supposedly people in the world, but I don't know. I don't know if the numbers mean anything. It would be nice to have, the problem with YouTube is that it's entrenched, and there are alternatives, but then you got to think about, you know, whether you're reaching people you want to reach. But on the other hand, I'm not reaching anybody. I got like, you know, 10 people maybe that come to my channel. And so I don't know. I might think about putting my stuff on another platform. I'm not sure what. And the problem there would be I'm not ready to just totally leave YouTube, but just want to see if there's another audience somewhere that's interested in the stuff I do. Yeah, and the chat broadcast on Rand's. Yeah, the problem right now is the time of year for him. It's nearing the Christmas season, and he's in sales, so this is not the time of year for him to be doing stuff. Now, if I go to his channel, I can run it, but I don't like to run it alone because then it's just my channel and nobody will come. So I wait until I've at least got Pillbox or somebody to talk to. And hey, Joe. So I don't know. I'm just decided to fire one up because there was nothing else going on, and I was, you know, just like to have something to do in the morning while I have an excuse to not start my chores just yet. I usually have just a self-imposed rule. I don't do anything till I've had my breakfast and then my tea a little bit later, and then I do stuff. Lately, I've been doing hangouts just before I make my tea because then I can go longer without having to take a break. But there's just not much. It's what you call slim pickings in YouTube land as far as live hangouts go. I'm not saying mine is better. It's just, you know, like I said, I just thought I'd fire one up just because. Same stuff most of the time. Music or reruns. Yeah, there's a conference going on too. I understand that. And I hope it all goes well. There's always a potential for somebody to try to start something just to make flat earthers look bad. Who knows? But most of the time, fears of that sort of thing don't pan out. And yeah, what are you doing here in my channel? You're supposed to be packing. Yeah, let us know how that goes. Most of us who aren't going can't afford it anyway, can't even pay for, I mean, yeah, I could, if I shifted my priorities, pay for some live streaming, but I got other priorities with the little bit available for that sort of thing. So, yeah, procrastination. Yeah, I at least try to put a lid on mine, you know, like, okay, I can do up to 2, maybe a 3-hour hangout, and then I have to start getting my work done. But right now, I was like, well, I covered the whole New Testament book by book. I've done topical studies on a whole bunch of things, including what goes on socially, and pretty much out of ideas right now. I just like, well, I kind of feel like this is my time slot. I should do something. There are people who come, but I don't know what to do next. It's like I would need feedback on questions that people have. Oh, okay. So you live near that conference. Yeah, it's possible stuff will be live streamed for free. I haven't seen it yet, but you know, somebody will get that out, I'm sure. But yeah, it's in the eastern part of the U.S. where I kind of sort of am. I'm in the Midwest, but if I really, really, really wanted to go, I'd have probably found a way to get there, but I didn't really, really, really want to. So I'm just not a conferences and get-togethers person anyway. So whatever. Anyway, okay, cool. I'll try to look for your channel if you do that. I think it starts tomorrow. I'm not sure what time, but tomorrow and Friday, something like that. It'll be interesting to see what goes on. But I'll find out eventually. I watched some UFO videos this morning in my, not live feeds, but some pretty good stuff. I'm hoping now that I got a decent camera that I can get some shots of things. I've had some, what they call anomalies. There's people who don't want to call them UFOs anymore. They call them anomalies. And I've seen some weird things on occasion, but I'm not outside as much, especially this time of year. I'm not going to sit out in the cold with my camera. And so I might, the place I ordered my camera from back in June came with some macro lenses. So I might see if I can do something with that during the winter, but I don't expect to have a lot of science things on my channel until I can go outside more. Oh, 2 extra tickets. Well, I still can't go really. I don't have the means to get there anyway. That's a bigger expense than the thing itself. But, this YouTube stream, live, what it picks out, I don't know if it's just picking things to fill in the space because it can't find enough live flat earth hangouts or what. Because half of it's NASA. I'm sure they put flat out in their tags or something to make those come up so they can muddy the waters. But I try looking sometimes for Christian hangouts and not much going on there either. Let's just try that once. And then you got to do the live filter. And half the time, this filter button is over here with a different icon. I don't know what's going on. A 24/7 live stream, it means nothing to me. And I don't know, half the time it's just recorded sermons that on topics I've been over 100,000 times. So yeah, you could learn something new, but I don't know. I think at this point it's pretty hard to find something new on Christian topics, but dance radio, dance music radio, Christian dance music radio. Okay, there's that. Let's see what's going on in the chat. If the world is artificial, then does it need maintenance? That's a good question. People who believe it's a simulation would say probably, yeah, like any software, it can crash, it needs reloaded, it might need a plug-in or an upgrade or a patch. Sorry about the raspy voice this morning. I wasn't feeling well last night. Not too well. I mean, not bad today. I had a really bad stomach ache, something I ate. I don't know. And I've been trying to eat healthier, but I don't think onions like me anymore. That's my culprit for now. So, I mean, it certainly isn't chocolate, right? I mean, I eat chocolate chips just by, just for the flavor. But as far as sim theory goes, simulation theory, again, I say if we are a part of the simulation, which we would be, what's the point in calling it a simulation? It's our reality. And the fact that it can be changed is something God could always do anyway. So I just don't get the point of a sim theory of reality, because it's, people will use that to say, well, the earth can be any shape you want then, which is true. But here again, it means we're not all that special, because once you can make the earth shape morph, the whole debate disappears and nobody cares anymore what shape the earth is. And the whole point of the flat earth movement, is my understanding, is to show that we've been lied to. And we've been doing this with, I've been in health message boards, alternative health. I have not been heavy into UFOs, but I was back in the day before there was internet access, really, reading the books, Jacques Vallée and people like that. So, there's various things that have come and gone, but as far as why it matters, it's always been a matter of uncovering falsehoods that we're told about the world we live in the past. And I think people a lot of times go too far the other way. And they will say, well, you can't believe anything from the past. And then they'll turn around and use something from the past to debunk something else from the past. And so people aren't consistent. I've gone on about consistency, but I agree about the simulation theory being, another thing where, again, it doesn't matter what is physical in the simulation theory. That wouldn't matter. And yeah, I don't believe in simulation theory. I believe whatever this reality is, it's our reality. And so it's real because we're part of this thing. And so it's our reality. So it doesn't matter how it's constructed. And I've been saying all over the place, as Christians, we need to concentrate on telling people who the creator is and not necessarily what they created or how. And I think it's a little bit beside the point. I think it's a worthwhile pursuit for a lot of people, because it has turned people to believe in a creator, but then we have to be there to say who is the creator. And as I think I mentioned at yesterday's hangout, or a lot of them certainly, that a consistent interpretation of the Bible would hold that not only was it made in 6 solar days, that it was made not all that long ago, and that it is flat, stationary, and not spinning. So that's an interpretation question, which would hold true to any body of literature. If you have a consistent method of interpretation of literature in general, and consistent, rational, objective approaches to ancient or other language documents, then certain things are going to come to light that won't come to light if you don't use those methods. And so whether it's the Bible or something else, if people want to believe whatever they want, then I don't see the point in, like, for example, syncretism, where you just treat all literature like a buffet and you just make something together, make your own plate of food out of it, so to speak. And then in which case it's like, well, maybe those gave you ideas, but in the end you throw away the rest of the food. You don't care what else is at the buffet. And so then to say anybody who picks a different combination of foods for their plate is an idiot is, to me, not only divisive, but stupid and arrogant and whatever words you want to use. And that's what astrotheology seems to do and syncretism seems to do. But I've been all over that stuff enough times. I don't think I need to keep harping on it. And I don't even know if I'll keep this video. It's just nothing. I thought, you know what? What is there? look at, there's not a lot of them on some of the Hangouts, but going back to the flat Earth list. Well, come on, go back to the flat Earth list. Let me refresh it. 24/7, the same stuff over and over. 101 people watching. This one only has 13, but that's a Christian one, so there you go. That could be something. 32 watching the same. This is the same title every day. Not saying these are bad people or anything. It's just that what is it about those that makes people come? There's 32 watching that one. And mostly it's their chat. I took a peek over at their chat earlier, and it's mostly people insulting each other. I guess they just need a place to insult each other. I don't know. But mystifies me. But then again, like I said, maybe YouTube isn't the place where a channel like mine is going to reach very many people. I don't know. Hard to say, but mostly I just did this because I could this morning, and nothing else going on. And I didn't, it's early in the day. I didn't feel like starting any projects or anything. And like I said, if you guys have any ideas on a Bible topic to look at that I could go over, do some research and present something, I'd be happy to do it. But I've already got, I don't know, 100 and whatever videos on Bible things. And I've done the roots of religion. There's a couple of them with Babylon in the title. One, I forget the whole title. It's got Babylon in it, and another is Daughters of Babylon. And that's mainly to deal with the claims that Christianity was made up or borrowed or plagiarized. And I've gone over some fads, a lot of other things, and then there's ridiculous things I won't even bother with. Like the other day, once again, I saw somebody say, "Oh, the name Jesus means dirt pig," or something like that. It's like, how can people? I mean, they say this in seriousness, I think, and they think they can do word associations like, son and son that are just only works in English, SUNSON, and think that they're scholars and researchers and investigators, but I don't know. I think that all comes from an irrational fear of education in general. I'm not sure why that comment was hidden in the chat. That doesn't make any sense. YouTube is screwy. But anyway, there's just so many things that people believe for no reason. And then they say they know the Bible's wrong. They don't know what's right, but they know the Bible's wrong. And so what can you do? There's not that many people to talk to even anymore that can sustain a thought consistently, sustain an argument. And I don't know. It's kind of, you would think in this age of communication, there'd be a lot more of it going on, but it seems like there's a lot less, or a lot less quality anyway. Mostly, like I said, it's people that want to go to a chat room and just insult each other or make fun of somebody they don't like or whoever. But I think it would help if, a lot of these things, it's just one person like I do because there's nobody to talk to, or there's not live, but they're rebroadcasting things that were done earlier. And I think what people want from Hangouts is to hear conversations, not just lectures. Like I said, a lot of times I just use Google Hangouts because it's a reliable recording, and my stuff doesn't always pick up the audio for some reason. I'm not sure why. But yeah, it gets old, and it's hard to find, with people's changing schedules and all, hard to find a person or a group of people that can get together on a regular basis and have interesting things to say to each other. But I think it goes better when you have that. It's just, I can almost guarantee not going to happen on a 24/7 channel. So anyway, as far as what's worth pursuing, that's going to be an individual decision. But for what it's worth, I don't, I'm not really interested in the reruns channel, the 24/7s. There's comedy channels you can go to. Those are nice if you're, to visit. I wouldn't want to live there, but it's just, I don't know what to tell you about any of the hangouts these days. Like I said, if one way or another, if anything comes to me to talk about, I'll fire up a hangout. And I mentioned earlier, somebody asked me about Flat Out Elected channel, and I did one hangout there that I hosted for them because this is just a bad time of year for the channel owner Rand to do. But there has to be at least one other person, as far as I'm concerned. When I'm in somebody else's channel, I want somebody else there. And that's hard to find. And even if people don't agree with what's said, it's at least a conversation. And I think a lot of people would prefer that over just one person randomly doing what I'm doing right now on a hangout. So as far as 24/7 channels being advertisement, I know that's the intention, and maybe it works a little bit. I don't know. But if I were someone, looking into a new hot topic, say it's just anomalies, just to pick a word, and would I go to a 24/7 channel? I might for a few minutes just to get familiarized and see some of the channels that are actually doing that either live or putting out their own videos. I'd probably go there. And another problem I see with the 24/7s is that they are sitting here on top of the feed. A lot of the smaller channels don't get a chance because people don't roll past the first page. I'm the same way. I just like, after this, it's NASA stuff or things that are totally seemingly unrelated to my search. And it's the same, the 24/7s with this. I think it goes mostly by viewers, but hard to say. We got 101, then 13, then 32. So I'm not sure if that's the reason. But 24/7s hog the limelight on search results, and I don't know exactly what the reason is, but that kind of gets in the way sometimes, and hard to say. But I have not seen the frozen airplane videos. I don't know what that is. Sorry. And thank you for kind comments about the stuff I have done. And the thing is I'm saying is that I've already covered a lot of scripture, and I'm not sure if I go into Old Testament, I could do that, but I've not focused my life so much on that as I have to the degree I have on the New Testament. And I've referenced it plenty of times in other topics, such as creation, prophecy. A lot of it is genealogies and the stories about the patriarchs and battles and kingdoms. And I don't know, it's how much general interest I can get out of that as far as, even my interest. Other topics that I haven't covered yet. It's not something I'm going to walk through the way I did the New Testament. It's just, 39 books or something like that. So let's see. Old Testament references to Jesus and New Testament events. Okay, the tie-in to the New Testament. Yeah. But here's the thing. There's really not a lot there, especially in the Hebrew text, because it's meant to be hidden. As the New Testament said, that the church age, so to speak, is was a secret that was revealed only then, and that there are hints and things. Mostly, though, the Old Testament is all about Israel, and yes, there are references to the Messiah, but I think we'd have to go more into the Septuagint, which I could do. So, I'll have to. That's a decent idea. I'll have to look into what I can put together. That may take a while, just because you've got so much material to look through for so few things. I've done a whole series on Revelation. I have a prophecy playlist. And it doesn't just include Revelation. It includes the Old Testament prophecies that are remaining to be fulfilled. But yeah, I'll see if I can find something to do in the Old Testament, because like I said, I think I've gone over the New Testament so many times, so many angles, that I am out of ideas. So I guess, yeah, that's a worthwhile pursuit. Like I said, though, I don't expect to find a ton of material because it wasn't meant to be there, you know. But yeah, in the meantime, I do have a lot of prophecy material, single topic, what kind of, I called one topic for kind of an introductory, people looking into Christianity thing. What is the church? What is salvation? Those sorts of basic questions. And I tried to keep those fairly short. Other than that, let's see, rectangular looping model. Yeah, like I said, I'm becoming less concerned with the actual shape of it than I am who made it. And I am also considering, first of all, the lensing issue, because as far as I can figure, you have to deal with lensing before you can have any hope of triangulating things in the sky, for example. And Dr. Zach has contacted me. We may be able to collaborate on some things in the future regarding lensing, because we both independently are coming to the same point of the at least single concave lens. And I think it's going to be a double concave, just because of how the sun moves. And observation is key, but here again, we have to understand that what we observe can't be explained by any physical model purely on its own without lensing, I don't think. All we do know, the one thing we can agree on, is that we've been lied to about so much else. The Big Bang is a lie, evolution's a lie. And given that those things are lies, people started looking into, not only from the UFO angle, but also, and political angles, but also, the events like 9/11 and so forth, that said, wow, this lie goes everywhere. And that we need to, look and, question everything. And it's good to question everything, but you have to have some way of measuring or testing what you're questioning. And that's been the big problem, is that people don't have any consistent, rational, objective method of determining true from false. So they're not going to get anywhere, really. Let's see, lensing optics are a natural part of distance observation. But the holographic nature of heavenly body pretty solid. I'm not sure, holographic to some people means that it's not really there, that it was, that it's projected in some way. But optics, what I'm talking about, I know, you can go to my cosmology series and see on the lensing stuff that light bends depending on a change of density of medium. And if you, for example, if you have, like I've showed before, the double concave lens, the sun's position is going to be more or less accurate depending on where it is in that lens, and you're on the other side of the lens. So it's going to be at an angle when you're looking through more of the different thicknesses, and when it's straight overhead, it'll be less distorted because it's the thinnest part of the lens and there's not much change in density. So especially if you're at the equator. So that's what I'm talking about with lensing. The positions of the objects can change. Now, whether there's should be distortions as well is a separate question. Whether this lensing model should make the sun and moon appear more elliptical in their shape, and rather than a perfect circle as they always are, that's another question. We know it magnifies at the horizon because everybody agrees there's a lot more atmosphere to look through there than there is overhead. But we've all seen the huge moon on, coming up in the east. But the sun doesn't seem to do that as much. Although there are times, especially it seems more at sunset for whatever reason, that as far as how different luminaries are affected by lensing. So it may be having to do with the intensity of the light. I'm not sure, but that's something we need to look into. Good verse there, 1 Corinthians 15:41, about the different glories or majesties of the heavenly bodies and all sorts of other bodies. That was something we went over also in prophecy talks, because people were asking about the resurrection of the dead. And Paul talked in that section, I believe, also about the event that by description I believe is the rapture. And that gets into, as far as the Bible is concerned, gets into whether the sun and moon are really there and whether there's more than one of each. If you take a consistent biblical interpretation, you're going to say, well, God made the sun, the moon, and the stars, and that they're all were created from the beginning. The moon is not something that came later. It's not a burned out sun. And yeah, we can look at the skies and look at what, not just the skies, but also the earth itself, and and see the mark of the Creator, see design. And this, again, is our reality. And in our terms of reality understanding, God said, I made the sun, I made the moon, I made the stars, and I made all the stuff. And the purpose of the sun, moon, and stars is to tell time. It's to tell days and seasons and months and years, as it puts it in Genesis, I think. But yes, God would make them as real and physical as we are. As far as we can tell, what physical means when it comes to the luminaries is another question. But because none of us have touched it, none of us have smelled it, none of us, we can see it, and that's all. Let's see, could the moon switch off the background light from the sky some way? That's an interesting question, because like the eclipse, it's got everybody puzzled. And one thing we observe is that it did happen at the time and place where the moon should have been, but nobody can really see the new moon approaching or leaving. But at the same time, it seemed pretty obvious from all the different observations, especially with good cameras and telescopes, that the moon was not discernible in any way. And I'm wondering if it's possible that the moon somehow cancels out the sun, and makes the moon kind of disappear at that point, because it's too close to the sun or something, that it cancels out in some way. I don't know what better term to use than cancel out right now, like neutralize something. Everybody knows that the kind of light changes. I mean, even in my partial eclipse, we had like a 90-some% eclipse where I was, and the light is different. It's like, I think as Karen B mentioned, it looked polarized, and it looks different. There's something missing from the light spectrum during an eclipse of the sun. So hard to say. There is something weird going on that isn't just a lensing problem, because lensing is just position as far as I'm concerned. And there's also the issue of the lagging of temperature changes with the position of the sun, through the seasons. You would think that when the sun is, say from the spring equinox to the June solstice, that's the warmest time of year. It should be at the June solstice, should be the highest temperature of the year in the northern hemisphere, but it's not. It gets warm when the sun starts to go back away from us, go south. And the same thing with winter. The winter months are when the sun is on its way back north again from its southernmost point at the winter solstice in December, and then it starts to come back north again, but that's when it gets the coldest here. So why the lag? And yet it doesn't lag all that much on a daily basis, because especially in the summer, that it's much cooler in the nighttime and dusk and dawn than it is when the sun is high. That's when it's the hottest. So on a daily basis, the heat seems to follow the sun, but on a seasonal basis, it lags behind. I don't know what to make of that. So anyway, yeah, the verse about the invisible things, some people think that means atoms. I mean, certainly there are things we can only see through a microscope. Other people are like, well, maybe that could be taken as a projection. It's possible. All we know is that the Bible says God put those things there, put them specifically, put the sun and the moon and the stars, and that their purpose is to tell us time. The nature of how the clock operates is not something that God felt a great need to explain. Maybe we wouldn't understand it. I don't know, but yeah, lensing is mostly about position and magnification. We know that, like I mentioned that just a bit ago. Whether it should distort the object or not is a matter of what exactly kind of lensing we're dealing with and what position we are in relation to the position of the actual object, wherever it is. There's so many unknowns that it would be pretty difficult to prove anything, although we can come up with some ideas. So anyway, yeah, the weather right now, we've had heavy overcast. Today we have sunshine, and I might just end pretty soon and go out and see if I can see any sunspots. It seems that most of the time there are no spots. Even throughout the summer, most of the time there have been no spots. When we do get spots, they stick around for about a week, usually, depending on where they start. But I've done videos on that. So anyway, I managed to string this out for a little over half an hour, but I might stop it because I know there's nothing else going on, but I mainly wanted to just kill some time and just see. And it's funny that there's as many people here when I don't have a topic as there are when I have one. So I don't know. I'd have to, as far as sunspots go, try to keep a closer eye on any other weather events going on when there are spots. But the problem a lot of time is that if there's something that like causing storms or whatnot, I'm not going to be able to see the sun because of the clouds. So that's kind of a catch-22 there. Hey, Rachel, sorry, I don't know if you've been here, but I'm about to shut down. I just saw your name there. But yeah, I still kind of got a little bit of a stomach ache too that I'm dealing with. That I don't know. It seemed to be triggered by something I ate, like onions, but I don't know. When it sticks around this long, it might also be germs, in which case I did have my honey and cinnamon this morning. I need to take some of my colloidal silver, but I usually wait to take that until I'm pretty sure it's germs and not just something I ate irritating my system. But anyway, I'm going to go get some tea also. And yeah, I've got plenty of colloidal silver. I meant to drink some before I went to bed last night, and I forgot. I was pretty out of it. I went to bed way early and everything. So anyhow, I'll catch y'all later. Thanks for coming, and I will try to look into whatever I can find to go over in the Old Testament. Yeah, I understand about colloidal silver. It's a good. They say it helps boost your immune system all around. Hello, Randy Cochran in the chat. I'm just shutting down, and I don't know if you have been listening, but hey, Teal. Sorry, it was a random spur of the moment hangout, like you can tell by the title and the description. I just kind of went all over the map, pun intended. We talked a little bit about Earth models, about hangouts and why some are popular, some are not. And because there was just nothing else to watch and hasn't been for several days, as far as, any kind of regular hangout that's got interesting people on panel. I think part of the problem is it's hard to get people together. And so I think I will shut this down. And as I've said, if I can get anyone together to go to Flat Out Elected to be on panel, I will do that. But those usually happen later in the day. So they're not going to be a morning thing. So anyway, thanks for coming. Catch y'all later. I guess I'll leave this up just why not? But I didn't really talk about anything in particular. So, alrighty, thanks again. See y'all later.